Have you found yourself part of the loneliness epidemic? Join us today as we talk about how you can correct that.
During the pandemic, I started down this journey on going from what I like to call healing to wholeness. Why don't you tell me
Hey, Onita.
Hey, girl, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I love our new promo. I mean, what do you call that? Real? I don't know. I just love it. Every week you're surprising me with something else. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually old. I did it one time when it was just you and me. I think I was interviewing you, so I created a
Okay.
reel with that. But I thought I would go with the short version today. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I like it. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I I'm not sure why this is just the way it's working out because I need to get it posted on Tuesday evening
Mhm.
that we're recording at 10 o'clock. If you are a regular guest, I mean, you know that we are on hiatus, so we're recording these and posting them at the appointed time. And hopefully this week I will post it at the appointed time versus the day after. But I also committed to going to the food bank at 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning to help pick up food for our food pantry. And when I committed, it was 8, and then it changed to 9. And so now I'm like, like rushing. Thankfully, I'm in the same location because I have to go get the food, bring it back to the church, and I'm at the church recording. So it's working out, but I was just a little bit running late today. Good evening. Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser, where our purpose is in our name. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, but with all thy getting, get understanding. And
Mhm.
as we are planning and preparing these podcasts, we think about bringing wisdom to you in life, love, and marriage issues. And today we are excited because we're going to talk about community again. We just talked about it in our last episode of the season, but it's not a topic that really can be exhausted. And we're going to really focus on it today from the perspective of why finding your tribe matters in singleness. So we're going to focus on your single season, whether that's a season or if it's a lifetime season. Why finding your tribe matters. What are we thinking about that, Onita?
I think this is very important because, again, in this society where a lot of people are more um, ready to detach from everybody and isolate, and especially being in the pandemic forced us to isolate. It's
Mhm.
been so many studies shown, and it'll still take years to really gather all of the statistics on how bad COVID has affected that time of people getting back and being more sociable and trusting people again and fellowship and celebrating the stuff together with people because of you had that impact of it, but then it's the emotional mental side component that sometimes people struggle with, that while they're single they don't find joy or happiness in this time. And so
Mhm.
it's so important to have a tribe and a community. So I think it's a very, very important topic to talk about. If you're not single, I think it's still great to listen and tune into, because I know many women, including myself at point in time, it was just only my husband as my friend. And you still need a community of girlfriends that you can keep, that you can vent to, cry with, laugh with, and do all those things that women do. And so it's a very important topic today that I think we're discussing. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of community, might we
Hey.
have one that we can tell you about? We actually have started a community. Well, I want to reword that. We didn't start it, God started it. Because I had
Amen.
no intention of starting a community. I felt like I had a community. I do still feel I had a community that was great and it was supportive. It was not something that I was looking for because I thought I already had it. And I did have it. But I think that as we've expanded what is now called officially Praying Sisters, and because it started with prayer, the book Praying Forward, Pray It Forward for women who choose to fight on their knees. We'll put a link to that if you don't have it. And how are you watching and you don't have the book already? But thank you to all of our new people who are joining us. I wrote a book called Pray It Forward for women who choose to fight on their knees. And God impressed me to go live every morning through the devotional to encourage women who were praying for us to actually get through the book together and complete it. Intercession is a difficult thing. And so to encourage each other, well, that turned into now we're in month 8. The book is only 62 days, but we're in month 8 of continuing to go live together. We created a Zoom mastermind that we do every Sunday, and then we became officially Praying Sisters with our own logo and everything. Yes. And so we are excited about that. We had an interest meeting last week. We are going to be having interest meetings where if you are interested, looking for a community of safe, loving, caring, funny.
Yes.
It's funny up in that piece too. That you can connect with, who also are, on the battlefield for our Lord, then we would love to invite you to be a part of that. At the end, I will put a, link to my information, and you can talk with me. We can sit down and have a conversation. I can share with you the benefits. We're also considering, and I'm just going to put it out there right now, we're just talking about it, inviting people to join one of our masterminds, at least for the first 1 hour. We do, it's usually 8 to 10 on Sunday morning. It's not too early. You're fine. Like you can get up at 8 and be there. But what you get from it is totally worth it. And so we actually are thinking about inviting people to come for free and join us just to get a sense of what it's like. And so you can make your decision from there. But we'll share more about that at the end, because this episode is about community. So we felt it was important to incorporate that. And the question is asked, why finding your tribe matters in singleness. As you all know, I'm single. I've been single my whole adult life. And Onita's married, and she's pretty much been married her whole adult life. And as we talked about in that episode, and we'll link that episode, you all have been blowing up that episode. We appreciate you all watching that and getting value from that. But I'll link that for those who haven't seen it. It's entitled, Do Only Weak Women Need Friends? But talking about the importance of a social system. And that's kind of like the first thing we want to just discuss and see where we go with that conversation. But what I will kind of kick off that conversation with is that when we think about the idea of a social system, our world is really based on systems because God created us that way. Creation is a system, nature is a system. Our families are systems. And then there's a social system that we are inviting in this conversation people to recognize their need of if they don't have one. And also we'll talk later about how to kind of develop that or find that if you do need it. But from my perspective, a social system is really a structure in which you can develop as a social being. You learn how to connect with people and trust people and share with people and listen to people, engage with their needs, their human emotional needs, both good and negative, because we have both. You learn how to engage in humor. You know, some people are not funny, not because they're not funny, but because they just don't have anyone to be funny with. You know, they're just kind of in their own cycle, their own brain, thinking, "Oh, that's funny," and you're like, "This is not funny." But engaging with people, laughter, joy, sadness, sharing, all of these things are part of our social being, of our engagement with other people. And some of those things you can do alone, but they don't have the same benefits as when we do. Like
Right.
we can, I mean, we can laugh at our own jokes, sure, but like, some people have to because no one else does. But when, you know, studies show that when you are laughing with your friends or even remembering laughter with your friends,
Yes.
you get those happy hormones that start to kick in, your dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, um, oxytocin, that is actually careening through your body, if you will, in those, the beauty of it is it's not just when you're with your friends, it's when you're thinking about being with your friends and
Yes.
in the social system, when you're remembering, whether you're anticipating it or when you're remembering when you have been, the same happy hormones course through your body, and those are healing, they're life-giving, and they bring joy into your heart and your mind, which is why they're called the happy hormones.
Mhm.
So a social system is really important for all of us, but particularly when you start talking about someone who's single, so they most likely go home alone, they live alone. A lot of what they do may necessarily be done by themselves, but when you have a social system that you're connected to, then it ameliorates some of the potential for that loneliness that we see in so many people.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's so good. And again, all of the stuff you mentioned, it's, hey, you may be like, I'm not single, I don't need it. No, everybody needs some endorphins release and some oxytocin.
Mhm.
That is just, and it's so important. And even today, I was listening to Crystal Evans Hurst's book. She's still here, and she talked about that very thing, and why she's saying even to celebrate, you need to celebrate even the small wins, but celebrate the birthdays, celebrate the occasions that bring you happiness for that very reason. She talked about release, it releasing the oxytocin in your body and what it does to you emotionally, how it stimulates you and how it gets you going. And it's just beautiful, a beautiful thing to be able to um, know that if I just celebrate these things and I choose joy and I
Mhm.
celebrate it with people, again, we're encouraging to celebrate it with someone, um, so that you can have this inner joy and inner peace. But it's critical that we get this message. I've seen many people, I've gone to the hospital to visit sick and shut in sometimes. And then I see people who nobody's come to visit them. And
Mhm.
it's either don't have family, or they definitely they don't have even have friends. And that starts now, and it starts even when you're younger, knowing how to do that and be in community with each one. And so I'm glad you chose this topic. I'm excited about the renewing of people finding the tribe and choosing to stick with the tribe that I believe God will use this episode to speak
Mhm.
to people with.
Yeah. I think what you said was so important about even just in the hospitals when you have people, or nursing homes or places like that, where you have people who are regularly visited, who engage with. So even if they're in, maybe in their hospital or in a home that maybe they wouldn't have chosen to be, but then they have people who are engaging with them, who
Mhm.
are coming, visiting them. The staff is pleasant and joyful. It changes the atmosphere for the people who are there,
Yes.
as opposed to maybe when the environment is not that great, and then you don't have any people visiting you. You don't have children or grandchildren that come. It is very sad. And, I think that's why it's important for those who have that ministry. It's not my ministry. And I will just be honest about, I'm not, good at visiting, hospitals and nursing homes and those types of places, but there are people who are. And in fact, one of our friends, Sandra, there's a woman there that she knows. She's the mother of one of her friends, and Sandra goes every week and takes her out. She has Alzheimer's, and but she goes and she picks her up and takes her out, and they like have their fun day every single Tuesday. And and even though the woman doesn't always remember who she is, she remembers that she's happy that she's there. She remembers that she enjoys her. She remembers that she's a sweet and loving person. Don't matter if she remembers her name or remembers who she is or why she's picking her up. But the fact that, love to me is something that you don't forget.
Yes.
And it's just buried inside that in your heart, so that even if you don't remember someone's name, you remember how they treated you. You remember how they interacted with you. You remember that joy and peace that you found in their presence. And so it's just another reason that the social system is important, because you're right. There's going to come a time, even if you are married, first of all, you don't ever know when that person might die expectedly. But even if you all live to be, 80 or 90 years old, at some point, one of you is going to die and the other one isn't. And so having a social system that's even bigger than just one person is pretty important.
Yes.
So I want to talk about some of the benefits, other than we've talked about joy and, all of that, and, the happy hormones. But some of the benefits I think of having a social system is emotional support for single people.
Yes.
Because we do live in a society, and especially in a faith-based community, where marriage is idolized almost. Marriage is
sometimes weaponized.
Yeah. Marriage is the standard, And if you're just coming in right now, I'm not saying marriage is the standard. What I'm saying is we are in a faith community where marriage is seen as the standard. And for someone who's single, it can be very difficult to navigate navigate life and your emotions and your joy, your sadnesses, your sorrows, all of that, and feel as if you can't take that to anyone because you're already looked down upon because you're single.
Yeah, and I've seen this happen a lot in church, unfortunately, where what church have you ever gone to and they had a like banging singles ministry?
Yeah.
I was looking at RPC this past Saturday, and they mentioned something that they're doing. They are doing something for their singles, like it's an ongoing singles ministry. Either they're going out to these fun events that they're planning. I'm thinking that was unheard of. I've never seen that, and so I was like commending them. Here they were announcing this was like a series of events they had planned for the singles ministry. And I was like, one, y'all got that many singles? Two, wow, you're planning something. and they already had multiple dates. And I thought that's great, because unfortunately, a lot of times in a faith-based community, like you said, it's not saying how marriage is a standard, but it's just that you have not a lot of things are planned for single people. They may not get potluck invites because, these friends are coupled up, or
Yeah.
it may be your, in a choir group, or you all serve together as deacons. So maybe you will, but sometimes singles are left to the wayside. I mean, I remember my mom coming into church as a single mom, and outside of going to the church school and AY, there was nothing really for her. There were not many invites she got, unless it was an older woman in the church who said, "Come here, girl, let me bring you in. Let me love on y'all." But that was again somebody who had, was much older, who's lived long enough to understand that everybody's coming in looking for love. So she would do that for us. And so it's sad because people get missed a lot, but also people sit in what I always say, "Hey sis," sitting there suffering in silence, because unfortunately a lot of people still get in church, right, which is supposed to be a community, and they still choose to come and then leave. So they bring their singleness to a whole nother level. When you're there, I believe you got to be the change you want to see, maybe be the friend you want to be. So
Yeah.
I am single, but that doesn't mean you can't go and invite somebody over
Right.
to your home for lunch and start that journey. But sometimes people still feel like that is all they are, so that's all I'm going to be, and they don't come with expectations nor come with solutions of, "Hey, let me be that person, let me find somebody and bring them to my home."
Right.
As you were talking, the verse Galatians 6:2 came to mind: "Will bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." And we're called to do that. But as a single person, if you don't believe even that hey, I can find at least one other person to help bear my burdens, God's called us to do that. That we're supposed to do that. By doing that, we're fulfilling the law of Christ. And so again, finding your tribe and community, just trust and believe there's somebody out there who likes some majority of things you like too. Like, you're not this weirdo, okay?
Yeah.
Avery came home yesterday and said, "Mom, there's a lightsaber club at my school." And I was like, "Lightsaber as in Star Wars?" She said, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You should join." We have at least 3 here in the house, but she said, "No way, Mom. That, like, I could never do that." But meaning, for even her, like, here she is, like, "Oh, Star Wars started way before she was born." I think even before I was born. No, I may have been born, maybe just born. But this thing is the generations. She's feeling embarrassed to talk about it. I'm like, "Girl, there's a whole club of y'all. There's
No.
okay.
A whole club. I love that.
There's a whole club. So believe you me, there's somebody out there who's into
Yes.
some of the things you're into, and waiting. They're waiting too. They're
Yes.
waiting for that person. One other small story, and I told Avery, another friend of mine shared this testimony, and I told Avery you should try it, was that her daughter was going to a new school, and she's like, she came home the first day of school from transitioning from church school to public. And her mom said she came home and it just broke her heart that she said she sat by herself at school and didn't eat lunch with anybody. And the school probably has like 1,500 people. And so she's like, "It just broke my heart." And I'm like, "Maybe I'll homeschool her." And I'm like, right, we always want to go into this mother hen mode. And she said she said she told her, "Hey, how about you go in the cafeteria tomorrow, say a prayer, but you go in the cafeteria and you find somebody else who's sitting alone. And you go and you introduce yourself and you say, 'Hi, so and so. You mind if I eat lunch with you?'" Come to find out, this is how God works. She did that. The girl's like, "Yes, please." They started talking, getting to know each other, never shared that they were Christians. The mom goes to visit a church that Sabbath. Hears her daughter do this scream, "Mommy, it's her. It's her. It's my new friend." New friend is the same faith as she's 70 Adventist. And they both were so excited. Like, it just, right now they're best friends for life, because it's like, already you came to me, right? And you said, "Can we
I
eat lunch together?"
love
But now I find like you believe you have some of the same values and beliefs. And
this.
her friend, my friend, she took so many pictures of them. She said she just kept trying to take little glimpses, like, "Oh my gosh." And it's, like, she made a friend, but look at God, how you answered even this prayer. That, man, I found somebody in a school of 1,500 people who,
Yes.
so God can, and I will tell you, this is one thing I've been encouraging my kids to do, because I wouldn't say I failed at doing this. I just didn't think you needed to. I prayed. I pray, and I tell them to pray, "God, bring the friends to me, or bring the community to me, or bring the tribe, those people that I need to surround myself with, will allow me to be myself, but also encouraged me and helped me to be accountable to do some of the things I said I was going to do.
Yes. No,
And
that's so awesome. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic. That's like the best story. Like we just need to end right now. And just be like, see, that's why we need to be friends. Like, no, that's so good. It's funny that you said accountable because that was one of the things I was going to say next was that good friendships will bring accountability.
Yes.
And if you're in a faith community, and really if you're anybody, everybody, no matter what you believe, you want to do something in your life, hopefully. And a friend or a community can hold you accountable to that. And they can encourage you. And, you know, I think that's just a great example of, you know, who even knows, you know, 20 years from now, what their friendship is gonna, what the fruit of their friendship is going to be, because, you know, your friend prayed and she gave her like counsel, like, don't just wait for someone to befriend you. You go and befriend someone else. And boom, you know, this whole thing has happened. And, you know, this is kind of jumping to the end a little bit because we were going to talk about some of the ways that, you know, we can create that community. I'm still going to save it to the end, but this is just perfect that sometimes, you know, as singles, because of a variety of reasons, like maybe you just have been rejected by men, I'm talking about single women, or even, you know, vice versa. If you're a man watching this and, you know, you've experienced rejection, you think nobody wants you, you have lowest self-esteem and all of these things. And those are legitimate feelings. They may be misplaced and misaligned because, I mean, you haven't, every man in the world hasn't seen you. So you can't, you know, you just the couple that you tried to date maybe weren't interested. But also that doesn't necessarily mean, that doesn't say anything about your value. It just says that you just weren't the right fit for that person.
Yeah.
But I think that when we are in our feelings, we tend to want to wait for other people to reach out to us and make us feel better, versus what your friend said is like, no, I want you to go and see, because you're not the only person that ate alone yesterday. Go find someone, and boom, in day 2, you know, now it can just be a friendship for life. So yeah, and the social system is super important because it brings that emotional support. And just a little more nugget about the emotional support part is that life is hard. Life is hard. Even the best life is hard. And so to have someone to share, like when you're married, you are in a good marriage, you're sharing together the things of life. So when life happens, it doesn't just happen to one of the people, it happens to both of you. So any load that's shared between two is easier than a load carried by one person. So that's not to say that your husband or your wife is the only person that you need, but you have kind of a built-in, that's part of marriage. It's built in, it's supposed to be at least. But when you're single, you don't have that built in. Of course, we know God's promises that he will be with us and all of that, but he also created us for people. And so that emotional support to say, hey, I'm going through this, and sharing that, even if the person is, you know, probably not able to change the situation or even help you, they're there to carry that load with you. And that's the point. The second thing is I want to talk about is some of the risk of staying isolated. You want to start us off on that journey?
So some of the risk, as we saw, even again coming out of the pandemic, I mean, increased, I mean, big numbers as far as anxiety, depression, loneliness. Um, these things are increased when you're isolated. Couple of reasons. One, you're in your own head. So you're in your head ruminating some of the same thoughts over and over again. And before you know it, you've created your own form of ideology. Your idea about a thing is a certain way.
Yeah.
Even to the point too where offenses that may have been small and minor because you never addressed them with certain people become major to where you feel like you've talked yourself out of every relationship. You've given an excuse for every why I'm fooling with this person, why I'm going back to that church, why I'm not talking to my mom, why I refuse to talk to my sister again, because you're now sitting in isolation and you're now giving yourself many excuses. You said something a few minutes ago about emotions and feelings, particularly feelings. We should not let our feelings always dictate our not govern our actions. Our feelings should not govern our actions. The Bible tells us to take every thought captive for a reason. And we are to do that because a lot of times our heart, if we're hurt and that's our feeling emotion, we begin to now only speak into that darkness or negative thought. And therefore it will say, well, in order to protect me and to guard my heart, I'm going to isolate from everybody. But the Lord encourages us to forgive. I think in Colossians, I had it up 3:13, it said, make allowances for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. And so if you're a believer listening to this, we're not saying let people disrespect you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we are called to forgive and to make allowances, because remembering that we're all human and we're all flawed people and we're born into sin, shaped into iniquity. It's only by Christ and Christ alone do we not go around hurting each other all day, every day. You know what I mean? That we're not sinning, we're not doing all these things, and offending people left and right. Now we are, you get on social media, you can't offend people. I mean, unfortunately, depending on what you're putting out there. I try to put out love and promotions, okay? But so you could possibly offend somebody. So we're not saying, okay, you need to apologize to everybody, but you are to make some allowances and faults with people. Offer people grace that you want them to offer you, so that again, you're not backing yourself into this box of isolation where you begin to think, you get this false sense that because I'm hiding, I'm covering up all these things that I believe are right, then everybody else believes them too. Meaning I'm covering up that I'm walking around here hurting or suffering in silence. So because I'm covering up, you're only seeing my glamorous photos on Facebook, or when I go to eat somewhere, I'm taking a picture of the food, then that's telling the world I'm happy, right? I'm feeling great. Everything, my life is good. But yet alone, you're over here feeling lonely. Like I can attest to being in church, sitting in church, being the person who is a leader and leaving still feeling lonely, because I was there for my ministry, like doing what I needed to do, but still didn't have a sense of community where I had people checking in on me. I'm not, when people always say that strong friend, where people were checking in on me and holding me accountable for stuff outside of what I did for others, outside of my ministry. So I can actually say, and I'll have other people share this once I share the testimony in church, but I've left church feeling lonely. Like, oh my goodness, nobody sees that I'm hiding in plain sight. And so, right here, hey sis, but I'm saying hey sis, but also sitting here suffering in silence because we can come in and we cover up so much of this stuff rather than dealing with it. And so the isolation, this try to, I would say, these are some of the risk of it, but like I said, the loneliness, the anxiety, the depression, and some of it is definitely you may need to seek mental health counseling, because it may be it may not even be people that are currently in your life. This could be childhood trauma that has caused this. I think in one of the episodes I revealed to Lorraine, I said I didn't know it. I was saying it out loud. Hey, my childhood taught me that people who said they love me would never, I couldn't count on them. Or I didn't feel like they would protect me. So that meaning all relationships from that point going forward, I came in the door going, oh, if they care about me, I can't depend. I still need to do everything on my own. Like, don't depend on them because they're going to already fail me. Like,
right.
Like here, I'm 45 years old and getting this epiphany. But then
Yeah, it happens.
but then I'm mad because nobody's checking on the strong friend. Well, did you let them know? Did you tell them? Did you let them know?
Wow. Wow.
Did you set these expectations and say, hey, girlfriend, I'm your friend. I need you to pull me out of this. Sometimes I'm not going to tell you when I'm hurting, or I may tell you, but this has kind of been my pattern of my cycle.
Mm-hmm.
When I get mad, I'm offended. Here's offended. I'm offended. You ain't checking on me, but I ain't let you know there was a weakness, that there was an issue. I didn't
Wow,
let you know.
Rita. Oh my gosh, you said a word there, girl. You said a word.
I'm gonna sip my tea.
He's not gonna drop the mic. She just go sip her tea. It's
Sip
the
my
same.
tea.
Mean the same thing. No, that's a good word, because there is that dichotomy of being strong or pretending you're strong, and then being mad because people think you're strong, and you're
Right.
and ain't nobody check on you, and people are like, I didn't know there was anything to check on. I mean, I'm saying in human interaction, of course, you want to just be like, hey, how you doing, girl? But when we put on a front, essentially, that we're all good and that we can handle it, and I even want to go a little bit deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
When people try to help us, we're just like, no, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Then people get the message that you don't need no help.
Yeah.
And so then you get mad, and I'm talking about myself, if people don't check on you, but you haven't given them anything to check on, you know?
Right.
They just like, oh, we just have fun, we laugh and we chill or whatever, and then we go on with our life because she's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that is a terrible cycle. That is definitely a risk, because I think about people like Robin Williams and what was his name on the Ellen show, Stitch?
Yes. Yeah.
And people like that who people always said of them, they always took care of other people, they always seemed happy, they always all of these good things, and then they take their life because there was so much weight that they could not carry it anymore.
Yeah.
And so we really we put ourselves at risk, because when you're single, it's not even like there's someone in the house to notice.
Right.
Typically. Now, if you might live with someone or whatever. When you're married, if you change, Victor's gonna be like, okay, something, I don't know what's going on, but something different. Like, let's talk about it, and vice versa for him, because you all know each other's routines, how y'all roll. And so when something really is drastic, but when you are single, you're just in that house by yourself, and you can be as depressed and messed up and on the edge as possible. And then you can go to work and be just as efficient and productive. You can go to church and do all of the things, and you come home and nobody sees that difference. So, but if you have a group that's a regular group, like Praying Sisters, we meet every week. We're in the chat every all day long. If somebody is missing for a day or two, like there are a couple people who didn't show up at the Sunday mastermind who are normally there. Everyone doesn't always come, but they're almost always there. And I was just like, okay, I need to send a message out and be like, what's going on?
Yes.
And both of them did have something going on. And so, but when you're single and you just kind of stay in this place where no community of regular people checking in, you put yourself at risk for getting to a place where you can no longer carry the weight of just life.
Yes.
And that can go wrong in so many ways.
And it boils over. Like, I've heard, years ago, because I have a bunch of addicts in my family, people say a functional alcoholic. Like you said, they can go to work, do their job every day, and then come home, drink themselves into a stupor and go back to work. It's the same concept. But like you said, suffering with depression, anxiety, or loneliness can do all the things, but then come home. Eventually, though, just like filling a cup of water, you walking away, that thing's going to boil over. It eventually will boil over. These things also manifest themselves physically, to where high blood pressure, maybe even, not migraines, other illnesses, because you're still not coping and dealing with these things,
Right.
As well as self-sabotage. You may get somebody actually on the date, but you're coming in day one already with all these wrong assumptions or things you've ruminated and told yourself about men when all men cheat. Like, if that's all you kept thinking in your mind, the guy, showed up 5 minutes late for the date because of traffic. I ain't got time of day for you because you probably was with some other female. I'm gone. And he's sitting there like, what? Or vice versa. The guy thinking, whatever their situation, whatever hangups they may have. And so isolation can definitely, it can be scary. One other little plug, I fell in the showers Friday night in the hotel by myself. And I jokingly was like, you tell everybody else, hey, it did not hurt the next day. I mean, I don't know why. Like I fell. I was like, oh, the water must have got in my face, but I was like, good. I didn't hit my head. I fell right on my bum. But it didn't hit me till I'm sharing with my sisters in the community that's scary. That it could have been so much worse. And I was in the hotel by myself. And I had already said to my family, like, good night or whatever, da 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 da. So nobody was expecting to hear from me. So I think about the people who are living a lonely life, even those who are, I may see at church every week, who this could happen to, and nobody's checking on them. I had a friend of mine during the pandemic who said she couldn't wait to get back to church just to get a hug. And I was thinking, wow, I hadn't thought of that. I'm over here complaining that I need people to get out of my house.
You get done too much. Like, oh, would you get off me, please?
Like, I could be sitting in the bathroom in the morning. My son will come and sit right on my leg, and I'm like, am I not? Okay, so like I'm just like, bruh, boundaries. But it dawned on me then that man, some people are not even getting a hug.
Right.
And we know how therapeutic a hug is, what it releases in our body.
And just touch,
touch.
Of any kind.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was in New Zealand during the pandemic, in 2020, like the main, part. And we were at the school, so we had plenty of people to touch and hug. We had 23 girls in the dorm and the deans, and then there were, there's a boys dorm too. And so we were doing a lot of things, we ate together, we did all these things together. And of course there was times when you just like, you tired and, you just trying to keep these folks entertained and, when school hadn't yet started. And that was challenging, but I did think about the fact that what if I was in the States?
Yeah. And
I just had to be by myself for months or years for some people, I'm like, I can't roll like that.
Yeah.
And there were millions of people who did have to do that. And so there's no surprise that, that there was a, significant uptick in anxiety and depression and all of that when coming out of that, or even during that. But I think that when we are not locked down, physically, too many people lock themselves down emotionally.
Yes.
Because of situations that have been, harmful in the past, and ascribe that to every person in the future, so that they are experiencing what many people experienced in the physical.
Yes.
They're experiencing that in the emotional. So even though they're out in the world, they're at work, they're at church, they put the wall of separation emotionally, so that internally they are still at risk for the same things that people were during the pandemic, when they couldn't touch and hug and get those healing aspects of community.
Preach.
And I
Yes.
also wanted to say something that you triggered a thought when you were talking about, like, you're in your head ruminating. Another thing that we don't think about, especially in the faith community, is, but this is true of other philosophical thinking as well, that even though we should have our private time with God and study the word and all of that, a lot of what we do in community is, oh, I was studying this thing. Oh, let me share that with you. I
Yes.
was studying this. But when we don't have that, it leaves us open in so many areas for the enemy to really distort our thinking spiritually, even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've seen, not just I've seen, I dated someone who, he was, when we were talking, I never met him or whatever. I think we met on a dating site many years ago. And he had been a Christian Seventh-day Adventist for like 7 years. He didn't grow up in church, but he got to a point where he was isolating himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he would go to church and then not like stay for, anything or whatever. He would go home. And then he said that on Sundays he would take his, literature, and he would go out and he would like pass out literature in the community, on the streets or whatever. He lived in New York. But that he really didn't associate with the people at church or anything like that, because he did not, and I want to use the exact, I don't remember the exact words, but the idea was he didn't want to be tainted by people, sinful people or whatever, or something like that. And I was taken aback by this, and I was like, okay, God, please help me please help me address that in a way that he can, because we are all sinners saved by grace.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are situations and circumstances we don't want to put ourselves in, because those situations are sinful. They are against God's will and purpose and whatever. But to kind of separate yourself, isolate yourself in your house, and do everything just so that you won't be around people is kind of antithetical to the whole ministry of Jesus, because he came into a sinful world where he was not sinful and he was completely surrounded by people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he impacted them for the kingdom. So he had a lot of distorted opinions based on the Bible, and even some other prophetic writings, that because he did not have a community to be in dialogue with,
and challenge some of those thoughts.
They took root. And when I came and I challenged it and I prayed, I was just like, Lord, please. And I sent him an email, and I had scriptures where Paul was completely refuting that, and other writings that were refuting that. And I just felt as if, he never talked to me. He didn't actually even respond. He just never talked to me again, which, good on me, actually. Right. But I don't ever be mad about stuff like that, because I ain't trying to be married to something that I can't even like successfully date.
Right.
But the struggle is real, and people get very much inculcated with their opinions and their beliefs and their traditions and their thoughts about something and their interpretations, so that when we're not in community sharing that and challenging it, like you said, it can be very, very risky.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you had anything to say about that. I was going to move to the next thing we wanted to talk about, which is where do we start as far as creating a tribe?
Okay. Well, one, it can be right there in your local church. You may find people who, one, you're there because you're saying we believe in the same, faith, right? So you already got that. That's a big part of who you are, your value system. And then two, maybe, you're somebody who likes being hospitable. You may say, hey, let me join the hospitality team or something. So you can join a ministry to be, that's my tribe, that's my people. But that's one way. You may have some friends right now that you just know you guys have not connected in a long time physically. And you may not even share that I'm lonely. And it may just be you picking up the phone, because I guarantee you they're feeling the same way as well, and saying, hey, we need to stop this. I don't have enough time to I don't have enough time to do this, have enough time. And say, let's make time. Let's make time, even if it's once a month to come together, even if it's we're reading a book. Okay, we're at least going to read a book, and we're going to meet one day a week to discuss, the 4 or 5 chapters we read. That's something that you can do. That if you're still one of those people that I really don't have, there's 24 hours in a day. You sleep maybe between 5 and 8 hours. You got all that other time left. But make time again to celebrate and to fellowship, because it also, not only psychologically but physically, your body needs it. It's a benefit to your body. So that's another way to kind of get your tribe going. And you may even have joining different interest groups. There's so many groups out there. Lord have mercy. If you get on Facebook, get on Facebook. Then I have people that I must be like, I may have been in PTA with them, send me join this group, and I'm like, I ain't got time for all these groups. Like, I can't. I cannot. I'm like, a lot. But like, if you're a mom or a single mom, like there's one I'm in, in the area. It's a mom's group that I'm in this area, and that is just for this area. So we share tips about it. There's people who, hey, they have literally pre-scheduled play dates. So if you're a mom that's home during the day, hey, we're going to be at this library, this park, this farm, or whatever, this time of day. So now, not only you don't even have to come up with the idea, you just know I have other moms who are interested, who have their kids and who are interested in doing these things that I am. So you're already going to meet up with people who like this thing like you. If your business wants different business groups and organizations, join some of those. Those are community too. And you may say, well, this is business. Well, guess what? That in that business networking or that interest group, you may meet somebody who say, we want to connect even more, want to, become even more accountable to each other and pull you into something else. So those are just a couple of suggestions that I can think of right off the bat. But like I said, go through your phone. You got people in your phone right now. That man, when this girl and I get together, or this guy and I get together, we laugh, we have a good time, but we keep saying we don't have time. You make time. You make your house. It don't have to be nothing grand. You didn't got to cook the stuff nowadays. You can literally go to Wegmans, Ham, somewhere. All these places already have pre-cut fruit boards and cheese trays, appetizers. Or you could tell everybody, hey, the color's yellow. Everybody bring something yellow. Let's just get together. It's been a long time just to get together. And I'm telling you, it will be a positive thing, because you need it. They also need it and are looking for it too, because everybody wants to be heard and wants to be loved.
Yeah, I agree. And this kind of melds into our the next topic around overcoming barriers. So I'm just gonna put those two together. But I think that your tips were really important. Just where and then how, because I love jigsaw puzzles. I guarantee there's a group who does jigsaw puzzles. That's probably even local. It's not like I don't have to be on Zoom to do it. There's probably a jigsaw puzzle group in this town that I could go. We just put 5 pieces together and we, whatever, and I don't really take the time to just do it for myself either, like I used to. But what do you like to do?
Yeah.
like you said earlier about the lightsaber club, there are other people who like to do it. You just haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
And you won't meet them unless you just take the time and take the steps. It doesn't have to be quote unquote spiritual.
Yeah.
Like we think that our whole life is spiritual. So obviously, if what you like to do is go to the topless bar, then that's not, we don't subscribe to that. You know, you need to repent and ask God to work with you. But if you like Star Wars and you like jigsaw puzzles, or you like biking, my cousin, she has like a biking group that she started, and once a month they take these long bikes. This is not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
You know, these other people who like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so figure out what you like. You already know what you like because you've been doing it by yourself, and just go do it with other people. Because the thing about that's so interesting, and try to do it locally too, so that you can touch each other. You can eat together. You can engage. We're on Zoom enough. We're on virtual enough, and praise God for it, because it has been super helpful in keeping us connected with people that we can't touch. But oh my gosh, I really cannot wait for the retreat that Praise is having in a few weeks, less than a month, and it'll be here. And we've been talking about it since pretty much January. These like, let's have a retreat, okay? So but we are actually doing it. We didn't just talk about it.
Yes.
People paid their money, and it's happening in September, where all of the conversations on Zoom are going to come together in actually hugging and touching and laughing together and feeling each other's energy and enjoying and doing and eating and talking and preaching and learning and all of these things together. Yeah. But we are meant for that kind of community. And where you absolutely can't have it, enjoy Zoom, take advantage of that. But where you can, take the time.
Yes.
Like you said, you don't have time. You make time.
Yes.
To do the things that you want to do. And this needs to be a priority. We're not suggesting this. We're telling you. We're telling you need community.
Yes.
Finding your tribe matters in singleness, particularly because there's so many things, accountability around your dating behavior, around accountability around who you are dating already. Yeah. Your people can tell you like, nah, that ain't it.
Yes.
This is what we see, or that is it. This is what we see. And they can be supportive. You need a community around for that, but you need it around just for you. Yeah. And I think that, some of what you mentioned is just busyness or whatever, but some of the other barriers are, fear of vulnerability or past hurt with trusting people or whatever. And all of those are legit, but these people haven't hurt you.
Yeah.
Somebody else did. Let that person be responsible for hurting you. Let that person take the blame and the responsibility and maybe the separation for hurting you if that's what you need to do. Mm-hmm. But this person hasn't done anything to you.
Yeah.
And so part of community is learning how to forgive and surrender your past hurts.
Yes.
So that you can connect with someone different and new. Every Sunday from 8 to 10, we have our mastermind, right?
Yes.
We haven't missed a Sunday, have we?
No.
Because even when I was on vacation,
we still had it.
Still had it.
Yeah, we still had it.
So if I were to just out the blue have called these women and be like, hey, y'all got 2 hours every Sunday for us to hang out, most people would have been like, man, I don't have time. I got board meeting. I got kids. I got to do breakfast. I got to do all of these things. Mm-hmm. But organically, one day when we were on the because they connected in the comments on the YouTube live. They
Yes.
nobody. It was just like names, and they were connecting, and it was like, so one day I was just like, hey, let's have a Zoom this Sunday and just kind of like meet each other and all that. People got on the call. We haven't missed a Zoom since we officially were like, we're gonna have Zoom every Sunday. So people made the time when they realized the value, as opposed to our fallback answer to, I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm going to share this little story. When I lived in Richmond, the latter part of when I lived in Richmond, from 2018 to just essentially 2020, I left in January to go to New Zealand. I was living with one of my friends who's Brazilian. And the thing that I love so much about the community, there's just a lot of Brazilians in the community. They're Adventist community. There's a lot that aren't Adventist too, but they found time. They made time. It was a priority for them. They got together on Tuesday or whatever day. They wasn't waiting, because a lot of times with my friends when I was there, it's just like, oh, let's get. I mean, it's like maybe 8 or 10 of us, maybe. And it's just like, oh, let's get together. Okay, well, let's not pull out everybody's calendar. When can we? Oh no, can't do it that week because can't do it this week. And okay. And we would have to schedule 6 weeks out,
right,
to have potluck together after church. And it was just like so frustrating, because I mean, you're still happy to see them when you see them.
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, I need you now.
Yeah.
And so that community, they don't care what day it is. They will call at 5 o'clock and be like, hey, y'all want to come over? And people would have some good old food. They would bring it on over, and they would have a party in the middle of the week.
Yes.
Priority. And I appreciate that we all have things going on, especially kids or whatever. But I just think that sometimes we need to just stop.
Yeah.
And say, you know what? This is more important. And if I don't get my good 6 hours of sleep or whatever it is, 8 hours that I typically get because I'm doing this, I believe that this is healing me even more than that would. Now, I'm not saying do that every night, but I'm just saying take the time to do that.
Yeah. So my first experience with Brazilians too were in school, but also the church, meeting them. And one thing that I enjoyed about them then as a teen, and I still enjoy now, is that they enjoy life. And it's not just them. I've been with some other cultures that a lot of my Liberian and Ghanaian family up in Rhode Island, when we moved to church there, everything. I feel like y'all having a party for a 5th grade graduation. Y'all having a party for like they were going to have a party, or what they call function for everything. And I was like, what in the world? But one of the things that I was listening to this morning was it said, stop shaming yourself and practicing regret, because people keep practicing that in their head. But enjoy life. Enjoy living. We got to get to the space where we enjoy living. Like literally, I've been telling my husband all the time, I'm just going to work. How's your day? Good. I went to work. Time to make the donuts. Like, that's not what we were born here for. You know what I mean? Like, we were not born here to, like, you're not living each day just to work, just to pay a bill. Enjoy living. Find joy in every day. Be grateful every day. Celebrate the small wins, but find people to celebrate them with and make time. And I would tell you this, we fall into this category too, where it's 4 of us in the group, but one person can't come. So do we don't want to feel guilty? I will push it. When you keep pushing it down, we all have busy lives. Well, if out of the 4, only 2 of us can meet, then us 2 are getting together. Let's get together. Let's have a good time. And let's celebrate each other. Let's enjoy life, because we're stronger. It's kind of like that. What's that verse about the 2-strand, but then the 3-strand cords? If 2 of us are together, we look like the enemy. But then you have God uniting you 3. It can't be broken. That 3-strand cord cannot be easily broken. And so when you are by yourself, understanding too that that's when the enemy also has a little bit more power and an ability to plant seeds that become weeds that choke the life out of the truth of what God says about you and what people really feel about you, because you're by yourself. So it's also spiritually not good to be by yourself in isolation.
Agreed.
Because of that. You need somebody else that you know, like with this community that we're in with the Praying Sisters. There are days where I was gonna be late to the mastermind, or I ain't been in the chat most of the day, and somebody will flat out hit me up like, "Where you at?" And it's not where you at, like physically. It's knowing heart wise,
yeah.
wise. Where you at? Are you good? You know, because I'm doing what I normally do. I'm gonna pull back, whatever your thing is. Well, I'm gonna just figure it out on my own. I'm gonna worry myself into a tizzy, and then I'll come to y'all 8 days later of the prayer. You know, blood pressure up. I'm cranky. I'm this. I'm that. Whatever. Eating stuff I know that I've made a commitment not to eat. Whereas have the vulnerability, and vulnerability is a strength. Come right out. I'm in this community. I can literally just say, y'all pray for me, because sometimes you don't want to share, and you don't necessarily have to share everything about your business, because you were raised up like we were. I don't know about your family, Lorraine, but we were like indoctrinated everything. Don't be going out in the streets telling my business. We were like, it was just so don't tell my business. And some of it should have been told, because we needed protecting from some of this stuff. But the reality is, okay, maybe I don't want to tell everything, but you're in a community where you can literally say, y'all pray for me. That's it. Or you can say, I'm not having a good day. And or you can say, I love y'all. I ain't in the mood today. I'm probably not going to respond to none of these messages. And they still gonna say, well, I love you too, girl. We love you, girl. We love you. Start pouring into you, edifying you, esteeming you. And all of the encouragement does help. And they're gonna say, we're praying for you. I mean, there's times where I literally could not. I was too mad, sad to even pray. And I said, please pray for me. And I saw people, and I saw things change immediately. And I felt my strength coming on immediately because of this community of believers who were able to take the time, who stopped. And sometimes it's not an eloquent, long prayer. It's a simple, God, please help my sister Lorraine right now. You know what it is she needs. In Jesus' name, amen. And I'm telling you, when I can say I physically felt my strength coming on, I physically saw my mother, who was in the hospital a few weeks ago. They had given her all the blood pressure medicine they could give her for that day. And her blood pressure was still 205 over 100 and something. And I put in the chat, ladies, I need you to pray for my mom. And I saw her blood pressure within 5 minutes drop back down to within normal limits. It's like, thank you, God. And then I jokingly said, some of y'all, somebody on here is walking with Jesus, okay? Walking with the Lord like Enoch, because he answered immediately, okay? Immediately. And so I couldn't have done that if I chose to just do me, be strong girl, be superwoman. And I'm good. I got my man, as my kids jokingly say. They say I say that, but like, I got my man. I got my man, and I got my kids, and I got this, and I'm doing this, and I'm traveling. I'm over here. You know, you're getting all my beautiful Facebook reels, but I'm over here struggling by myself. If I didn't take the courage and make the choice to say, Holy Spirit, bring me a community this year. And he did. And he did. Like, I literally asked for that, because I recognize that, one, they tell us we're not meant to do life alone.
Right.
Jesus had a community of disciples who were also his friends, who were there for him. Guess what? They failed him at times too. They weren't always, they didn't always do what they were supposed to do. And Jesus,
a whole lot.
You know, they denied him. They would sleep when he said,
"Can you do right?" until after he was already back in heaven.
Okay, look at how much they messed up. So for those of you who are like, but my friends ain't did this, y'all. They listen. Jesus' friends let him down. Okay, and we let him down every day. This is why
the best friend ever. So yeah,
okay,
that's a great point.
Forgive. Wow. We need to forgive. You need to be clear, and I'm telling you, even that. Being that I'm somebody married, but even doing it if you're single, clearly speak the expectations to, because we sometimes we're disappointed in our friends or in our community, and even in our church community, we're disappointed in them not meeting expectations that we have, that we've not clearly communicated. So you know, so that way I'm just going to do me at this point. Did you clearly say to the person, hey, for birthdays, I spent at least $50 or $100 for you. And for my birthday, you just thought showing up to the party was gift enough, you know. And people do get, I'm saying it's an example, but people do get hot over stuff like that. Or, hey, I always comment on your post. I don't care what you post. And as my friend, I click it, I support you. And you never really click on my post. Now, mind you, that person may be a 9 to 5. They're required to put their phones completely away.
Right.
You know, and then by the time they get home, they're too tired. Or if they're so
come back around.
Right. Now, or the post, like, because of the algorithm, girl, I may not ever see any of your posts. Right?
Exactly.
What post you had out there? But there's people who have gotten so offended and hurt by this. And I'm not negating that. You feel what you feel, but you need to also confront it and clearly, first of all, ask Holy Spirit, is it me? I'm gonna tell you, he will check you. Okay. He will check you. Okay. This year, he's been checking me left and right. Okay. I was offended over some stuff that he said, girl, bye. Like it wasn't even, he said, girl, bye. This offense is all in your head. Like this man is not even studying you right now. He's not even go in that kitchen and sound crazy. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell him you mad because da 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 da. He gonna look at you like you plumb crazy. And I was like,
sound crazy. I love it.
I was just like,
I'm just trying to help you not sound crazy. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
I'm trying to help you not do that. And ladies and gentlemen, some of us sitting there offended and hurt by some things, or we're holding on to it. It's been over 20 years. Mind you, you've seen this person in social gatherings. You may even seen them in church. You've spoken, you hugged, you've laughed a little bit, and then boom, you've not been back around. You don't really hang out like that, and you're still mad and holding on to this thing. And they have no earthly idea. And then if you figure, well, now I'm going to go ahead and confront them about it, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Okay? Because one, they probably don't even remember it. They probably don't even remember it. And two, maybe God would touch their heart that they'll know you need to hear, I'm so sorry about that they'll say it rather than going, you crazy. They may just say, I really don't remember it. But if that's how I made you feel, I'm sorry. And if that's what you need, the Holy Spirit will unction them to do it.
Yeah.
But actually, the Holy Spirit to definitely check your heart, check your mind. And because sometimes we have allowed negative seeds to be planted. And we need him to renew our minds, to uproot those things, take those thoughts captive, smother the life out of them, kill them. Okay? Just kill them. Get your we be gone.
Right. Yeah, you are so right. And like you're really making me think about something that's so important. Why community is important? Because if you don't have community, you don't learn that skill.
No.
You just stay offended about all these things out there. But when you have a community that really matters to you, first of all, you learn what you said. You got to run that thing through the Holy Spirit. Girl, bye. But I'm like, not that the Holy Spirit don't empathize with you, but he's not trying to let you just kind of wallow in some stuff that just made up in your head. Yeah. And one thing that we learned even in our community is that sometimes the feeling is legitimate, but it's misplaced.
Yeah.
So you think that person is really the offense or the offender, but it's really something that you haven't dealt with from way back that just triggered that feeling. That person didn't actually do anything wrong. You just got triggered because of your own stuff that maybe you haven't dealt with. Yes. All of that happens in community. And if you want to be in a healthy community, then you have to learn how to talk these things out. You have to learn how to run those things through the Holy Spirit. You have to learn how to bring your thoughts into captivity. There's a whole lot that you learn in community that when you're single, living in your house, paying your own bills, doing your own thing, going your own place, all of that, you don't know. I said one time on an episode I'm not sure if you were on the episode too, but Ebony was on. And and I said, there are things that I don't know about myself, both good and bad, because I'm not married. Now, if there's sins, obviously the Holy Spirit is going to bring those out. But they're just things about me that I don't have to know, because they're not rubbing up against somebody else who's just like, yo, I mean, what we not gonna do?
Right.
What we not gonna do? I'm gonna need you to, because there's no one else. And so in community is so important when you're in that relationship, because then somebody's just like, okay, what we not gonna do is what I'm gonna need from you is, or maybe we need to think about how you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because your thinking has been so much in here versus when you talk, your thinking is out here.
Yeah.
And Onita can be like, no, that doesn't really fit the situation, the character, the Bible, the whatever, what's best for you. And then I can do the same for her. And so those are just some of the things that we need to think about overcoming, but that once we overcome them, it's actually a benefit to us to be able to be vulnerable and stop being afraid of that, to deal with past hurts and be healed, to like really stop the busyness, because single people and other people too, but are good for being busy in order not to feel lonely.
Yes.
And thinking those are the same thing, but they're totally not. And then just some, ways of how we navigate relationships, we learn because we actually have relationships.
Yes.
So, okay, as we start to wrap up here, I want you started talking about this a little bit, but I want you to talk a little bit more about how you see the faith-based community or church being able to be a part of this process of community building.
One, coming from, a family who for years I saw, moms, sisters, aunties, rather than deal with stuff, they would just be an avoidance. They would avoid. And then that avoidance turns to isolation or not being around folks. And so a lot of I would say my kids, for them, for years, aunties and uncles were people from church who they got to see regularly, who had a lot of the core values and beliefs that I had, and that we shared and wanted for our family, and who I knew I can trust them to be around I'm there or I'm not there, that they weren't going to be saying no crazy stuff or, out of pocket stuff, around them. And so, and it gives a sense of belonging. Everybody wants, no matter, even the toughest person, like, I'm good, I'm just going to do me. No, never climb alone. If you're out there, if you're going to ever go hiking or whatever, they tell you don't go alone. Of course, for the physical, just for the fact of so many physical things can happen to you. And who's going to call somebody?
Right.
In life, we should never climb alone.
Come
on, even just as a married couple, sometimes you can be around a person long enough, you begin to have a lot of the same vernacular, the way you speak and think, in idolatry. And even just two people being together, if you're only back and forth, we're still not growing, but so much. We still have our limits. But being a part of a community that has a lot of the same shared values, but people who come from all different total walks of life are able to share and give a different perspective on how to handle some things. I love that in our community, we have people of different ages. Some of us are close in age, and then some of us are not. And so some people who live longer, they're able to give us some old school knowledge, some old school ways of thinking, how to navigate some things, but how to do it gracefully. Or, hey, you went through this. You're going through this now, girl. I went through it. Things that you think may literally take your mind away. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna survive this. But then you can see some people who've gone through it, and you're like, oh, so there is another side of this that I too will come over. But you can't do that being alone in isolation. You have to be willing to love yourself enough to want to be healed, and not just healed, but to want to move forward in life and enjoy living in this abundant life that Jesus promised us. Be a part of a community who's going to be there for you, who's going to uphold you, who's going to hold you, help you be accountable. Other values I would say or benefits, like I said, other people praying for me, like who genuinely are taking the time to pray for you. I gave a friend of mine a plaque years ago that said, "Friends are your chosen family." And with this community, I have more chosen family now. Who, it may not be everybody, it may not be, I forget how many people in the group now, so I'm not gonna say the number and leave nobody out, but maybe only 2 of them are available at 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. But then one of us is up at midnight that night, you know, that receives the prayer
Who
request.
might that be?
Exactly. who sees the prayer request at night, and immediately I know they're praying for me. And that helps. I don't want to say restore my faith in humanity, because I would tell you, I've not looked at, I've tried not to stay away from all the political stuff, because if I continue, I'm just going to leave this country, and I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going, but I stay away from that. But it really just reminds me daily, with being a part of this community, one, people being there for me, but to see prayers being answered for other people, for me to see how God is showing up for other people in their lives, also helps build my faith and my confidence in how I speak when I pray. And that how God cares about not just the major things, even the minor things, like some of the things that where people asking God to pray for. You know, a few months ago, I've been like, girl, that's so petty. He don't even care about that. But he cares about it all.
Cares about it all.
You know, like he cares about it all. And seeing him answer all of these prayer requests for other people has helped to build my faith more, to help, and also build my confidence. And even how I'm doing life, business wise, and as a mom, and as my health, and as a wife, having other people be accountable and saying, did you do that? Did you update your website? Did you do what you said you was gonna do? And from a place of love, not a place of being critical, extra critical on me, or trying to boss me around, but literally from a place of love. And that's come, and me knowing that it's from a place of love, because it's come through spending time together, even if it's virtual. And I know that's where it's coming from. These are the benefits, some more benefits that I've gotten myself. So even in doing my daily life, like Lorraine says, it's not just about church, but my daily life, having people hold me accountable to doing the things I said I was going to do, has been another great benefit of being a part of this community, and being in a community, and especially particularly a part of the Praying Sisters community, who I can't wait for the retreat. I can't wait.
I think that's so good. I mean, and I'll talk about, just the other side of it. I think I'm not sure if we were already on camera when you said this, but there are a lot of churches, they don't know a bit more about singles ministry. They are terrible at singles ministry. They don't have no singles ministry. I'm in a group on Facebook that's for single Christians, and almost all the time someone's on there saying, hey, I'm at this church, but they don't really have any good singles ministry. They don't really pay attention to singles. And so I'm thinking about leaving. What are your thoughts? And people give a lot of opinions about that. We're actually going to do an episode about that in the near future. But, and I've never been to a church that has a good singles ministry, just point blank period.
Yeah.
And so I will say two things about, how faith-based communities or churches can be a part of this, is that you do have a shared belief system. And even if the church is negligent in this area, there are always people, one or two people, it may be a little bit more, who, if you connected with them, you would find them to be a great support to you, and a great, part of your community. And sometimes, it can be difficult if they're married or whatever, but there are other single people too, so you can connect with them. But I do think that, the other part is which is what I'm going to do, is starting a singles ministry in your church, so that people know who's around and they can participate and be a part of that in growing and learning, but also in connecting with a community that has shared values and can hold you accountable to, God's word and his values.
Yeah.
And so I understand, if you're single and been at your church and it's just, want as far as it's real ministry, but, be the change. I'm not mad if you feel like you need to change a churches, because sometimes we do. If you have the privilege of having other, churches in your community that you can attend and maybe find some of that connection. But I also think we should also make more effort to connect with people versus, we said this earlier, versus them trying to always be connecting with us. And, I think that that is because faith is so much of the foundation of how we live, love, and marry.
Yes.
That to exclude faith, your faith community as someplace where you can find those people would be unwise.
Yeah.
Because we're all about wisdom here.
Yes.
And so I definitely think revisit that. There's someone out there, even if it's just one person, and then maybe y'all find two more in another church or not. And they don't have to be always the same denomination either. Like visit other places. But I just think that it's important because there's, spiritual guidance, there's shared values, and, as you mentioned, a sense of belonging, but also that foundational belief system that guides your life and can hold you accountable to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about, the Praying Sisters, and we are going to put in the description just how you can access me and talk more if you're interested in finding a community such as this. There's so many benefits that I don't really have the time to tell you, and I'll just tell you on the call. And we'll be doing some webinars that kind of shares that as well. But even if it's not our community, then find a community.
Yes.
Because it's really critical that you find your tribe. Your tribe matters in singleness.
Yes.
Emotional support, for social support, for fun, for conviction, for spiritual guidance, for all of these things that matter in your life.
Yes.
And so we admonish and we encourage that you don't reject that because maybe it hasn't worked in the way that you wanted in the past. Yeah. Ask God what it should look like, first of all, because sometimes our opinions are skewed as well. But then also ask him to show you who you can befriend or bring people in your life that you all can create this community, this tribe together. And we know that even as we are sitting here, 4 weeks away from maybe 3 weeks, actually 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks away from our retreat, we had one of the members post a meme where the person was Crystal Hurst. Crystal Hurst was sitting on a porch because she's having a retreat with her tribe, and she's sitting on the porch with her luggage, waiting for her retreat to come, and it's like weeks away. And she was just like, "This is me, and this is us in our mind." Like the excitement is building as we get, and that means like the health, the dopamine, the endorphins, the serotonin, the oxytocin is flowing through our body just from the thought of getting to that retreat and being together.
Yeah.
So find your tribe, because your tribe matters in your singleness.
Yes.
We thank you for watching. We appreciate all of you. We hope that you will continue. We have in 2 more weeks, we'll be live. We have one more week when we will have a recorded episode. But in 2 weeks, we will be back live, so you can be in the chat. Yes. And we respond to you. We want to hear from you. Please please share, please comment, hit that thumbs up button, and continue to watch and support as we try to grow this channel and make more of an impact for God and his kingdom. So until next time, Make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless.